Hi grade 5s, welcome to another recorded math lesson. Today's title is Measuring Length in Millimeters. Our learning intentions and success criteria are: I am learning to use direct and indirect measurement to solve problems so that I can demonstrate an understanding of measuring length. I'll know I have it when I can measure length using millimeters. Okay, so for today's lesson you're going to need a ruler. And you probably recognize rulers that look like this. We have clear rulers in our classroom, but rulers come in all kinds of colors, so if yours doesn't look like this, that's fine, as long as it has centimeters on it. Okay, most rulers will have inches and centimeters and millimeters on opposite sides. In Canada, we tend to use millimeters and centimeters more than we use inches, because we use the metric system. Although we do use inches for a lot of things, such as height, for example. So I am 5 feet 4 inches. Okay, so a little bit more information about a ruler. And we're kind of going to ignore the bottom portion of the ruler, the inches, because today's lesson objective is for us to be able to use millimeters. So we're just going to kind of focus on the top of the ruler. So every number that you see on the top of the ruler is an indication of a new centimeter. Okay, so this shows you about 9 centimeters. Now, of course, your screen is probably displaying this actually a little bit bigger than a real ruler is. So this isn't actually going to be 1 centimeter, but we're just going to pretend that this is 1 centimeter because it does represent 1 centimeter. And that being said, all of the little ticks that are inside each centimeter, so all of those little ticks, are 1 millimeter. Okay, so 1 millimeter is very, very tiny. It's about the thickness of a paper clip. Okay, and then the very middle of each one has a longer little tick, and that indicates that that's 5 millimeters long, which would also be known as half a centimeter. Okay, so just like we just finished our fractions unit, half a centimeter is 5 millimeters. Okay, awesome. So hopefully you guys are not strangers to using a ruler. We've used them in class quite a bit, but often we use them just to draw straight lines, but actually their purpose is to measure objects. You've also probably seen our meter stick in the classroom, and a meter stick is 100 centimeters long. So if our meter stick is 100 centimeters long, can you tell me how many millimeters long it is? If you want to pause the video and think about that for a minute, that's totally fine. Okay, so 100 centimeters would be equivalent to 1,000 millimeters. So our meter sticks in our classroom are 1,000 millimeters long. Okay, so there's this little rhyme that I like to use to remember all of the different indicators of the different measuring systems, and it is: King Henry died and mother didn't care much. Okay, and those indicate all of the different kinds of measurements that we use. So we use kilometers, hectometers, decameters. Oops, we'll make that a capital. No, we won't. And then just plain meters. We use decimeters, we use centimeters, and we use millimeters. Okay, so 1 centimeter, as I mentioned, has 10 millimeters inside it. 1 meter has 100 centimeters, as I mentioned, and 1 kilometer has 1,000 meters in it. And the only reason I showed you just those 3 is because in terms of measurement, we don't typically use these ones. We'd sometimes use a decimeter that has 10 centimeters in it, but it's quite rare. We usually just stick to kilometers, meters, centimeters, and millimeters. And just so you guys know, most rulers are 30 centimeters long. Okay, so here are just some questions for you to think about. How many centimeters are in 200 millimeters? If you want to pause the video, that's fine. So 200 millimeters, 200 millimeters would be 20 centimeters long. And kind of an easy way to remember this, I'll go back to the last slide. There's one jump between centimeter and millimeter, right here, this one little jump here, and it goes from right to left. So if I go back here, I'm gonna pretend there's a little decimal right here, and I'm gonna go one jump over and move my decimal right here. And so that number becomes 20. So 20 centimeters is in 200 millimeters. Okay, how many millimeters are there in 4 centimeters? Okay, so if we look, I've put a little ruler down here so you can see. If we're talking about 4 centimeters right here, and we know that there are 10 millimeters in each centimeter, so that would be 10 plus 10 plus 10 plus 10, also known as 10 times 4, which means 40, and so in 4 centimeters, we have 40 millimeters. Okay, and last one, how many millimeters are in 4.5 centimeters? Okay, so again, we're talking about a very similar length, 4.5. Okay, and we already know that 4 centimeters, so to this point, has 40 millimeters in it. Okay, but we've also got an extra 5 millimeters right here. Okay, so that would mean that 4.5 centimeters has 45 millimeters. And again, you can use that little trick of jumping the decimal over one. So because here we see that from centimeters to millimeters, our jump is going this direction. So our decimal jump would also go this direction, and that would give us 45. All right, awesome. So hopefully that all made sense to you guys. Call me on Zoom if you need to. Your worksheet is called Measuring Length in Millimeters. It's on Google Classroom and it's due tomorrow.